Okay, so let's start on a quick recap on what we have discussed yesterday. Right. So yesterday we went through few of the major industries getting affected or data breaches or compromises stats from last couple of years. So majorly we have seen that healthcare, financial, and pharma are the top among them, and of course remaining all the technology or energy services and other industrial and automation services are also being affected. But the count is very 50% of what healthcare and financial departments are affected. And we have seen the topmost cyber criminals or the information what they are seeking for, and the top threats what organizations are focusing on. Right, this customer information, financial information, strategic plans, board member information, customer passwords. See, usually we think of all the time we look for passwords, but more than that, it is about the financial information and the customer information and the strategic plans, which means the blueprints of the company plannings or product plans and everything. And coming to the threat side, we have phishing. As I said yesterday, it's being in the top positions, though there are many latest models of or latest techniques and tactics of attacks. So it's always been the first place. Malwares, cyber attacks, or to steal money, disrupt fraud. Again, cyber attacks, all spam. Again, so part of email campaigns or phishing site, and internal attacks, the insider threats, and natural disasters and espionage. And per this agenda, we have completed until the intrusion techniques and detections and importance of security controls. So we'll start with the security intelligence today, and we have a cyber kill chain, and then we'll go to the roles and responsibilities what we have as a security analyst in the IT security job profile. So what are the entry level jobs, what are the mid level and the senior level and the super senior level jobs, and then we'll quickly talk about how does the interview is gonna be for a professional, and then how to select the career into IT security. And as we talked, cybersecurity is all about protecting the internet connected devices, whether it is a hardware, software, or data, especially to protect them from cyber threats. So any form of cyber threat. And for that, we need the use of people, process, and technology. And importance of cybersecurity. Why do we need, or what is a prominent role of cybersecurity, and why should we select cybersecurity? So, financial and reputation damage, data loss, remediation, and legal impacts. So, understanding the internet, yes, we know the interconnected or network connected devices to share information or communicate information from one place to another place in large amounts or else across the world without any disruption and time delay. And information is just about the data what we have and the knowledge what we get on that. And the phases or information flow and security issues, the flow of information from physical devices to the internet layer, and then through the apps and services and all. And we also talked about intruders and viruses and different types of intrusion techniques like buffer overflow, protocol specific attacks, traffic flooding, and trojans and worms, and the evolution of malware, since 1988 until 2020, and different types of malwares what we have: virus, worms, trojans, ransomwares, botnets, adwares, spywares, and rootkits, fileless malwares, and malvertising. Some different types of uh, security threats what we have: the phishing, spear phishings, man in the middle attacks, and denial of service, SQL injections, and DNS attack. So this is the final part what we have discussed yesterday. Control functions or the security controls, different types of physical controls or technical controls, administrative controls, and in the three different areas like prevention, detection, and corrective. So that's how, and that's what we have discussed in yesterday's sessions. So that's a quick recap of what we have discussed yesterday. Now let's start with the new session. So this we call as the CIA triad, the information securities CIO triad, CIA triad. So this is a primary goal of any information security. So when we say the goal or primary goal of cyber security or information security, it means a decision factor. So why should we enable information security? Or if you think of information security, what are the primary goals you should keep focusing and then enable the information security? That is what this CIA triad talks about. CIA triad, CIA means confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So when we say the word confidentiality, what do we understand? Obviously, maintaining some secrecy, right? Maintaining some secrecy or keeping it confidential so that no unauthorized personnel has got the information to see, right? So that it is being protected in the environment, so that it is only restricted to the authorized users or accessible to only authorized users. So when we talk about confidentiality, implementation of confidentiality using the different types of control mechanisms, security control mechanisms, we have to look after the data at rest, how confidentially we are keeping it, and while in transit, how confidentially we are transferring it, and while using it, how confidentially we are using it. So this entire information security deals about data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. So the three phases we call the life cycle of data is something different, but to make you understand, I'm using the same word, life cycle of the data. So when it is at rest, when it is at transit, which means movement, and then while it is in use. So in these three phases, data at rest, which means the unused data or already the data what we have stored on a physical media, which means any of the storage devices. Example, let me tell you, if I take a pen drive and store some data, how are we keeping it confidential or inaccessible to unauthorized personnel? Simply keep it in a confidential locker and lock the key and keep the key with you, right? That is data at rest. And if we talk about the information lying on a server or else on a hard disk or else on a your laptop, there is a confidential information, and that should not be accessible by any of the resources who are using that particular machine, if that is a shared machine. So how are we going to protect it? Just enabling or restricting access to the unauthorized personnel by keeping a folder lock or else any of the password safes, right? So these are few realistic or simple examples for the confidentiality or to implementation of confidentiality or the data at rest. So the whole CIA triad, when we talk about information security, this is how we implement the selection of security controls or the selection of security technologies or devices, what we are implementing across the systems, whether it is a user using a machine or mobile or the web server, the data server, or else the any of the cloud instances, whatever may be the resource that's being accessible by a resource in the company. So that is what we look at, and security controls, the selection of security controls also help us, or the selection of security controls, we make a decision based on these three parameters: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So now that if we want to if we want to know about integrity, it means the alteration of the data. Okay, I'm repeating, alteration of the data. Okay, now I am rephrasing the same statement, just listen carefully. Integrity means nobody should be able to alter the data. Okay, so integrity means only the authorized personnel has got the authority or accessibility to modify the data. Once that is considered the final data, and no other person or no other user should not be able to modify or alterate the information. So if we are ensuring that, then we call that it is a integrated, or the data has got integrity. So there is no modification. For example, file hashing. So this is something very advanced, but to make you understand, I'm giving a information, so that if you want to know about hashing, you can just Google it, or information, or if you are enrolled into the courses, we can discuss in further. So to maintain the hash, to maintain the integrity of a file or of a program, what people do is they select a mechanism called hashing. So once a file is created, then we generate a hash value. To make you understand, let me take the help of Google and show you. For example, I am talking about series. Now, cyber security, when it is hashed, this is the value. We have different types of algorithms, what we have or what we can hash it with. Okay, so a file can be hashed with any of these algorithms, then the hash value changes. If you look at this value, this has got a random hexadecimal value, right? Just see, I am adding a space here. I didn't do any modifications, guys. I just added a space there and then hash. See this last 5 digits. Did you see the change? Which means once I generate a file or I create a file, save it and generate a hash value for it, and then send it to one user, and to ensure this is a file meeting the integrity, I'll share this hash value also. Then what you will do, you will just calculate the hash value of the file again, and you will check it. If that is meeting the hash what I have already shared with you, then you will understand there is no modification or alteration happened to the data, which means it is 100% original data what you received from the source. See, I didn't change anything to the word cybersecurity, but I just added a space, which means it is altered. So the value changes. Okay. So this is just for a word I am showing. If you have files also, video file or any file, so you will just see the hash values. For example, let me show you one thing. We tend to download files, right, from multiple sources. Okay. If you are downloading it from a different source, if the hash value there, the algorithm is SHA-256 algorithm. If the hash value is not equal to this, which means the file might have been, or the Kali Linux 2024 or the application what we are trying to download has been modified or altered by the source who has uploaded there for you to download. To make sure you are downloading the same file or you have downloaded the same file, which means the original file what the OEM vendor has already, or OEM manufacturer has already created and given you the hash value, and that hash value is meeting the file what you have downloaded. The thing here is to make sure that you have downloaded the legitimate and the original file, and not that any file which is embedded with any malwares or trojans or any kind of virus files. To make sure this is the safest file or safe file, you will know this is a original file and it is meeting integrity. And to make you more clear about this, I'll just show you one more thing. And this is one of our OS in tool, open source intelligence tool. So I am checking this hash value. I have a doubt whether this is good or not. So, but no one has submitted for its recognition. Okay. So it seems no matches found for the viruses. It is nowhere detected as a virus or else a malicious file. Okay. If it is a malicious file, you will be seeing the results here saying if it is a malicious, suspicious, or also file details what the hash belongs to. Okay. So to ensure the integrity of file, we look after integrity, or we select the integrity principle, and then what do? We go with selecting the controls and implementing that control techniques on the information. And the availability. See, this is one of the major thing when we are implementing a security control over the information systems, right? Let me tell you a scenario from our realistic or livelihood. We do have some grocery items, right? Our home at home. Let me tell you the kitchen items. Do we keep them in the safe cupboard and lock it and put a 4-pin password there? How does it look like? So if you feel I should make it confidential and I should keep it integrity and I should not allow anybody, or I should not want everybody to access it, right? It's foolishness, right? So there are few resources where you need resource to be accessible and keep it available. There are few confidential resources where you have to keep them confidential and only restricted to authorized persons. And there is an information or the data where each file should be integrity. Whatever may be the level or whatever the file it may be, you have to maintain the integrity of the file, right? So that is how we select. See, the example of these kitchen items or groceries what I have taken is just to illustrate the differences between making it available. See, these items are always needed for us frequently to access at the kitchen, right? Entire family needs it. Not only mom who cooks or the dad who looks after or else the kids, everyone has to get access to it if someone asks, right? And nobody will have the safe key and the 4-digit password except mom and dad, right? So it's not a good practice. So same in the infrastructure also. It's not a good practice keeping everything restricted. How can a user, a legitimate, a company or a developer or else a tester or else any of the operations guy, how come they work freely there? If everything is restricted, you cannot work freely, right? You will have to seek for access, 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 access. Every time you have to seek for access request, approval, wait, and then proceed with. So that kills the time, reduces the efficiency or reduces the productivity of the resource as well as the production in the lively production of the business. Okay, so making the resources needed for authorized personnel available for every time. That is what the primary check what we look while implementing the security control. And then available resources or given resources should not be modified by unauthorized personnel where we are taking care of integrity of the information and maintaining the confidentiality of the information what we are sharing with the authorized personnel and restricting to the unauthorized personnel is called the confidentiality. Okay, how are we enabling these three? Or how are we enabling the security or security control mechanisms using this CIA triad? How are we going to do that? By using this. You got it? So these are the security controls implemented to bring this. Okay. So in the different phases, data in transit, data at rest, data in use. To maintain, it is available, it is integral, and it is confidential. We select different types of security controls from the different layers. Okay, which means the phases of data travel from one source to the second end, which means the destination. Okay, these are the mechanisms or security controls what we implement to achieve this, or to achieve this, these are the controls what we have to select. And there are many more others, guys. I have just given you as a workshop, and considering the audience uh, level of understanding, I have limited to a minimal things what I can share with you so that you will understand within these 2 or 3 hours. And this one is a huge topic, security intelligence. So what is a security intelligence? We are simply talking about security intelligence, or else what else? When we talk about a particular subject expertise, for example, you go to a hospital, you ask for ortho. Why? Because you have a problem with bones and all, right? So you meet with ortho. If you have a vision problem, you go to eye specialist or ophthalmist, right? So similarly, the information that is related only to the information security is security intelligence. Okay, there are different layers where this security intelligence comes from. When we have a lot of information, right? When we have a lot of information, we organize it as a knowledge and make it or use it as intelligence. As I told you yesterday, right? First, we should need information, then organize it as a knowledge or knowledgeable artifact, and then convert it to our intelligence. That is same thing what we are applying to the information systems. So the concepts of now what we are doing or what we are knowing about the data science or machine learning, artificial intelligence, these are all the outputs of what we are doing from decades ago, right? So the efficiency or the way of algorithms or structures what we are using to put it or automate it as an intelligent device is what the current way of current trend of technology. So similarly, we are using the same technologies in security also. To achieve this or to make the devices intelligent, security intelligent, what we are doing, we are collecting the information. Okay, so to make it make you very clear in simple sentences or simple statements, I'll say the data collection, the data processing, and data visualization. These are the three phases for the security intelligence. Okay, we collect first data. Where do we collect this data from? We collect this data from multiple feeding sources. We call the log sources or the feeding sources. Okay, whether it is the internal systems, network logs, or system logs, and also the news updates, the security updates what we get from multiple vendors what we have already in the production or in our company, or else from multiple other security vendors who recommend, if you are using X product, use this, or these type of attacks are coming, so make sure you implement these controls and make sure you update to this version, or else you put these remediations or mitigation techniques as a workaround until you get the security patch for the next cycle, right? So that is how the information shared among the organizations by the vendors or researchers or any other security experts in the market, along with the internal information, the research resources from working for an organization, or the internal teams who are working efficiently and who identify a technical glitches, or else identify the work pattern, functionality pattern. So then they write the specific algorithms or pull out with their coding skills or DB skills and bring out the artifacts I call, or the logs. From the logs they parse it and they process it. Okay, all at once from multiple sources. As you see here, there are different sources, right? Human resource, which means human sources, dark web or social media or any other forums where we get the information. And the technical resources means the vulnerability databases or threat feeds. And the internal resources, the network traffics or logs, system logs or scans. Scans are again network scan or as the vulnerability scans. From all these sources, we collect and then we process and we analyze and the dissemination. So dissemination is nothing but the phases of action what we take based on the information what we have. So once we have collected information, then we process it. What is the processing? Which means processing means correlating the information collected from different sources and mapping the relevant data to relevant log set or data set. For example, if we have IP addresses in list of IP addresses from multiple sources, we put all the IP addresses in one bucket. If we have collection of numbers, phone numbers kind of thing, we keep them into another bucket. If we have information about the email addresses, we keep all these email addresses in one bucket. And we have the list of URLs, domains, file hashes, file names, file paths, images, file types, PDFs. So like this, whatever the information we are collecting from multiple sources, we categorize them based on the data type or the mm, data type, or else the way we have to present it for the visualization and make a decision on how to act on it. Okay, so that is what the processing. So the parsing and normalization and aggregation, these are the three things happening in the processing phase. For that, the analyst, the security analyst who investigates from the security operations center, or else the business needs to make a decision to understand it, they write the correlation rules and look at the dashboards and what is happening with the infrastructure, or else what is happening in the infrastructure. Okay, so that is the analysis point of sight, and dissemination is something where it enables you to decide if it is a security risk. What is the risk? How can we remediate it? Are we, or can we remediate permanently, or else can we just mitigate it or reduce the risk or tolerate the risk or accept the risk, or we have to, is there something where we can share the risk, or else is there something we can transfer the risk? These are the decision making things based on the analysis what we do there. Okay, if it is a security, really a security incident, so what should we do immediately? So call for a incident response and start working on all the 6 phases of incident response and engaging all the teams who are associated with that particular incident, be the networking guy, service desk guy, and the incident occurring in the application server owner or else the support team, and bring them, and the security operations team and the vulnerability management team or penetration testing team. So we have engaged multiple set of audience who can support the IR and then work accordingly on that. And the same thing, if you're talking about security operations center, right? So all this process data will be visualized at the security operations center team or by the security operations center team, and they monitor the complete infra logs with the help of, or by creating a set of correlation rules to identify who is the one using internet top in the organization, who is using YouTube more in the office internet or in the office premises or during the work hours, who is the top among the users using highest company resources to work to see the productivity. Okay, who is visiting the blocked sites more, restricted sites more, who is trying to visit this kind of things. Okay, and who is the user frequently failing to log in, or who is the user trying to log in from a different country. For example, I am sitting in India and I'm trying to log in it from US or Ukraine or China. How does that happen? So to look at these type of activities and understand and create the hypothesis between the events and understand what is happening, and to evaluate whether it is a security threat or it is a legitimate behavior or an unknown activity or anomaly, abnormal behavior, and then make a decision to treat it, which means to fix that kind of issues by process and technically also. And whereas vulnerability management is something proactively we run scans across the systems and we identify the vulnerabilities. As I said yesterday, vulnerability is a security gap in the information systems, be it a network or application or the hardware. Okay, so identify those kind of security weaknesses and fix them with the help of or by scanning the systems or infrastructure every frequently, which means weekly scans will be there, or monthly scans and quarterly scans. And then based on the scan results output, we fix the prioritized ones. We categorize them into priorities and prioritize them, and then work on the prioritized top 2 or top 3 vulnerabilities and try to fix them. And the risk analysis is something to understand from the business perspective as well as the technical perspective. So majority of the risk analysis lies with the or supports, or the thought process comes from the management side or the business side. What if this really happens? What is the risk we are having? So technical point of view as well as the major concern parties from the operational perspective and the business point when we talk about risk analysis. And from there we look at the fraud management and security leadership. These are to identify. Fraud management is to identify whether it is a fraud or not, how to engage it or how to manage it through the legal support, and what is the process we have to carry out from the different phases. Okay, that is what the fraud management, which legal team takes care with the help of security team. And the security leadership is about the total CIO org or the CISO org, Chief Information Office or Chief Information Security Officer organization. So where he takes the root of or the core of information security of an organization from there. Got it, guys? Yeah. Now this will bring you a lot of confusion, or else you will not understand at all. Okay. This is what we call the cyber kill chain process. Can you see where is the phase and all? These are the 7 phases. Okay, so here you look at reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, action on objectives. These are the 7 phases. So usually I just consider it as a 6-phase thing, phases of hacking. In general, people call 5 phases in the beginning of this hacking. 5 phases of hacking we used to call it, and later it became a 7-phase cyber kill chain process. And for me, I always add another phase. When there is a 5-phase of hacking, I added one more phase called documentation or reporting. And similarly, now it is 7 phases, and I again add the same reporting or documentation as an 8th phase. Okay. So reconnaissance. What is the reconnaissance? Reconnaissance means it is nothing but just information gathering. In general, we call, right? Do you hear the have you heard the word recce? We used to see, or we used to hear this term moreover in the news, right? When a person is performing in recce, which means the terrorists before their act, right? They perform a recce, or else police performs these recce schemes for the wanted candidates, right? Thieves or kind of thing. So it is same thing. Recce. Technically, it is reconnaissance. What we do on the information systems, whether it is about a person, or else of an application, or else any network, or else any organization. The information, the first phase of gathering the information is called reconnaissance. So if you have a target to attack on, you should need some information about that, right? For example, let me say, if I want to hack information systems of
Indian government websites, or else particularly about which department is good? Health. Or if I wanted to hack any of the health ministry websites or health ministry data, right? First of all, I should be able to know what are the key sources of health ministry application. So what are the applications they are using? Who are the users having the access to it? What is the difference between local, state, and central portals? What are the levels of users? Whether it is a local user or it's a admin user or a super user or director user or the magistrate or district, what we call them, the directors, joint directors or associate directors, who is having access to that portals. I have to perform all these reconnaissance, right? How many portals are there? What are their websites? Where are these posts? What is the technology they have used? And what is the platform they have hosted on this, right? Hosted this website web application. And what are the vulnerabilities of this particular application, as well as the platform, as well as the network. And then identify and suitable exploit I have to select, right? All this falls under these 7 steps. Identifying, until we identify the sources, we call that reconnaissance. After identifying the sources, selection of weapons, weaponization, right? So we got some information. So I feel this is the right weapon. I can just send there and blast it. That's what we do. So that is the selection of weaponization. So what you do is you select one email address, or else create a package like any of the automation scripting, or else download some trojans or malwares, and then embed them into a delivery component. For example, you have the packet as a payload and then send it by the delivery agent. So what are the delivery agents? Using any pen drives, or else you ask someone to enable some ports or services particularly to your application and deliver it to them, right? Either by email, or else by vulnerable web application, or you can depute it, or just deliver it to the agent there. Okay, so you select a weapon as a payload and then keep the payload in a delivery agent and send it to the targeted machine. And after delivering it there, you have to exploit it, which means make the script execute there on that particular targeted machine or application or the server, whatever you call. So there it has to be exploited, which means make the script or program what you have should be exploited there. Okay, and then once it is exploited, or else, which means the execution, then it start installing. If that is executed, what it does, it brings some dependency malwares or downloads the dependency malwares from external sites or this this particular attacker's server, whatever the server he has given as the address. So after you go there, you just stay there. Once you clear all the routes for our team to come into the infrastructure, you just call me. I'll depute them. That is what the attackers tells the weapon and delivers it. After exploiting, it start installation. In the installation phase, one by one from the other sides, the delivery or the the dependency modules of the malware falls in, and then it starts running. So after it's executed and installed, then the command and control server, the major attacker server, it gives the instructions and then it starts whatever the actions he wanted to perform, whether he wants to delete it, whether he wants to post some unwanted stuff, whether he wanted to put some profanity or else to keep it down, which means completely erase the data or whatever the damage he wanted to do, he can do whatever he needs. So these are the 7 phases what an attacker has to pass through to reach there. So this is what we call as a Maitri kill chain or else the uh, cyber kill chain. Okay, so by phases, this is the one of the not one of the, this is the majority uh, framework where audiences or the organizations and the security detection techniques or protection techniques make use of or use this 7 phase model or the framework to define or to protect the environments by phase. If you see here, this is the preparation phase, this is the intrusion phase, and this is the active breach, which means the successful phase, the final phase. And the other side, if you see the duration it takes to pass each phase. So this will be the preparation phase will be taking from hours to months based on the target and based on the uh, size capacity, right? And then if it is intruded successfully, then it will take few minutes or seconds only. After that, few months. Got it? This is a complete cycle about an attack. This is the end of the technical part. Now we will be going to discuss about job roles in IT security. Actually, this is the one where I had to start with yesterday's session. Why, what, who are eligible, and all kind of stuff in the beginning of the session. But purposefully, I have brought this down to end of the session. The reason is I wanted to give you some technical information about cybersecurity. So because people expect technical information in the workshops. So I have added that technical information and given you as a content, and least finally added this roles and responsibilities or different designations and eligibilities. So people will ask me continuously. So for that, I wanted to give as a career selection tip and as well as the different levels or different roles and responsibilities and the eligibilities or the certifications what we need to do, everything. So once you come through the technical part or complete all this technical part, then I thought you will be now understanding what these roles are and where I really fit. Okay. So to make you understand this part, I have given the initially a technical plot, technical concepts. So there are different. These are the different levels of careers in the IT security. So entry level, mid level, senior level, and super senior or the leadership level. Okay. So these are the designations where you can see in the first row in different phases, and in the second row you can see the academic qualifications, and the third and final row you will see the certifications.
So as a beginner, you will be hearing about the associate security analyst or associate or a junior security analyst or a cyber security analyst. In common, security analyst is the name. You will see the security analyst as a designation in common until you reach the senior level. Security analyst 1, security analyst 2, security analyst 3, and or else associate security analyst, senior security analyst, and lead security analyst. The designation just differs by the company's naming convention. Okay, but by role, the duties will not be separated. Okay, and this also you have to consider. See here, you have a SOC analyst role, application security engineer, network security engineer, forensic analyst, and network security analyst in the entry level and mid level. So I'm just can you see through the screen, or let me zoom it? So these are the different roles where you can see in the industry where you do SOC, Security Operations Center, or Blue Team is the same name for them. So we work on investigation. In this role, work on So vulnerability management is something the analyst performs the vulnerability scans and categorizes the vulnerabilities identified based on the risk analysis and prioritizes it and shares it with the application or support teams to have them patched or have them mitigated by their own owners or the point of contact. We call them POCs. So this is the same vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So this is the something similar part where we do the vulnerability assessment and then do the penetration testing on the identified vulnerabilities. And the red team. Red team is purely about penetration testing. This is a hacker role. So with the minimum penetration testing here in the VAPT role, we do have insights of information and we do it as a part of our security regular checkup. But red teaming activity will be performed as a hacker. So as a hacker hacks into the systems without knowing any information about the systems, he starts or the team keeps on hacking into our systems with the minimal information or without information also. So we call them black box or gray box or white box testing. So based on the need and the time of organization's plan, how they are planning and what they are trying to evaluate as a goal of their leadership role. So they perform it. So entirely, all of these teams work as based on the ultimate security CIO org's goal. Okay, the plan always changes and keeps updating based on the current trends. Okay. The purple team is the mix of red and blue teams. So they performs the hack. These guys identifies the hack, identifies and keeps triggering. So to enable more visibility for triggering the attacks, different patterns of attack, red team will be performing, and with that help of with that patterns what they have identified, this can be this can lead to a hack. So then based on that pattern what they have done, we write the correlation rules in the sim tools, and they do help for the detections and the investigations. Okay, so majority of the activity will be with the help of sim tools here in the stock management. Okay, and the CTI, these are the almost the research roles. The CTI, threat hunter, security, these are majorly of the research roles. So they seek for or search for latest current trend threats on the organizations, or with respect to the products what we are using in the organization, and looks after the information what they have in the public, which means, for example, I am working for X company. I look for all the related stuff which is associated with X company in all the public sources to make sure whether this is compromised or not. Okay, that is how we check, or the threat researchers or the hunt analysts, right? Who are the threat hunters and all. So they research on them and they try to bring those patterns. Again, using our internal security tools, what they do, they perform the research in our organization to identify if we have already compromised. Okay, so I have mixed it three parts here. So to deviate it or to make you more clear, so CTI, cyber threat intel role, is something where the researchers look for internal resources in the public sources. For example, let me tell you, there is a GitHub, LinkedIn, Facebook, these kind of things, right? Google, right? If these guys are posting any of the employees unknowingly, also that could be some confidential information, or some might be war enthusiasts to share some few news posts. So in that way, if some confidential information is exposed on the public, so people, CTS will look for that as well. And also they look for latest and current trending threats with respect to the products what we are using. For example, I'm using a Cisco firewall, okay, or else a checkpoint firewall, or else any of the blue code proxy, or any of the products what we have leading in the market. So with respect to that, I look at that, and what are the malware campaigns happening, what are the phishing campaigns happening, what are the latest exploit attempts happening with respect to recently. If you if you read through the security blogs or news regarding this chat GPT, making the use of this chat GPT. So a lot of campaigns have been started claiming it is a original chat GPT version, and they're installing some fake installers and making use of their popularity. So such kind of things are also being happening, and they look at that and they recommend our internal security systems to be aware of this kind of frauds. So enable our systems to detect this also. So they identify the threats and they share it with us. Based on that, we keep on updating our or feeding our security systems to learn more about the current trends. And threat hunter, so identifying based on the intelligence what they have given, we hunt those threats in our internal resources. For example, the SIM tools, because we have all the log sources, and also the antivirus or EDR devices. With the help of those logs, we just explore it.
try to identify if there is something happened, or if we have already the IOCs or footprints of these particular threats in the organization or not. And researcher, as usual, they perform the researches on current threats, security mechanisms, and they try to exploit it on our side, or they keep on doing new stuff, some kind of R&D. Okay. And EDR. EDR is endpoint detection and response, which is an antivirus. Excuse me. So EDR is something advanced of antivirus. Antivirus looks at or detects or performs at detecting viruses based on the signatures. So whereas EDR is a bit more intelligent than AV by looking at the behavioral based machine learning technique. So to give you clear or some more information, EDRs use the framework cyber kill chain or the MITRE kill chain framework to detect the anomalies based on the phase by phase. So each phase, what is this behavior? Is this normal, or is it resembling any of the cyber kill chain phases? If it resembling any of the cyber kill chain process, it will instinctively block that process or terminate that process or kill that operation, and then notify the alert saying that one of these activities match into this cyber kill chain phase. Can you please check and confirm if it is a genuine activity or else a threat activity? That is how EDR works on. Whereas antivirus purely detects if that is in its database or updated signatures, as this file is or the file hash is meeting as a virus, then it will quarantines. If you say it to block, it will block. If you ask it to quarantine, it will quarantine. If you ask it to quarantine and delete, it will delete. That's it. Okay. And this otherwise is also called as HIPS, which means the host intrusion prevention systems. Okay. So this also one role. So the antivirus or endpoint security manager. This otherwise is also called endpoint security devices. Okay. So you can use as an endpoint security analyst who looks at only the EDR component and performs the investigations and all. Okay, that's the one part of role where you can look at. And the other one is forensic analyst role. So when there is a compromise or else, majorly when there is a compromise only or a security incident, we keep on digging it more to identify the root cause. We call it as a RCA, root cause analysis, to dig out the RCA of the incident, from where the incident has begun, how it has come. We create a timeline of events and by log analysis. Okay, so that's what the forensic analysts do. So it is something similar to the SOC role. The next level of security analyst role. The next level of security analyst role is forensic analyst. So where we completely this we do for internal systems and auditing, where forensic analyst works for legal team. If we want to counterfile a legal act, okay, if we proceed with the legal act, then forensic analyst will follow that IT acts and all based on the incident scene and using all the chain of custody documents. Okay, so we call that chain of custody documents and all. Yes, okay, we use that chain of custody documents, and based on that we submit it to the legal team, so that the legal team on behalf of us will proceed with the counsel for the legal act. So that's what the role. And this is purely about admin or engineering roles. We call also device management roles. Okay, so EDR, AV, or HAPS manager. So the ones who use and analysis, performs analysis or investigations will be the analyst. The one who implements it, installs, configures, maintains is the manager. Okay, so if I want to install a setup, then if I want to manage multiple devices or entire endpoints from different sources, if I want to push it, update it, support it, to keep it available for every time, so then that is a one role called as device management role, or EDR manager, or EDR admin, or antivirus admin, or endpoint security admin, HIPS admin. Basically EDR admin or endpoint security admin in general people call it. So to give you more clarity, what we do think is people apply to the jobs just looking at the term security analyst. Security analyst means people tend to think only this is the only role. But after looking at the job roles, you have to understand if it is more talking about specifically about vulnerability identification, then you should be aware either it should be VM or VAPT. Okay. If they are asking more about application security or web application protection and something kind of thing, you have to think about it is falling under any of these three roles. Penetration testing or red teaming. Okay. Red teaming activities, web application security, that is also called as application security, we say. Okay. So that is one area where you can pull it from here to here. Okay. So to make you understand that there are different term, maybe the designation may be common, but the roles and responsibilities will differentiate you and help you understand where you really fit in among these roles. Okay. So it is like something equivalent to medicine. Everybody wants to do, in general, I'm talking, guys, whoever is writing for MSET medical, right? Everybody wants to do MBBS, right? I wanted to be a doctor. In general, if you don't know, or if you are not aware of selecting a particular or specific career in your medicine, for example, I see few people in hospitals, we see, right, multi-specialty hospital, there are number of plates there, naming plates. So super specialty, dermatologist, pediatrician, right? Pediatrician and ortho, ophthalmist, psychiatrist, and also what is that? Like this, different streams are there. And in general, general medicine is the MBBS, who does general treatment, right? So in similarly, as a general treatment, we call MBBS, we call cyber security. Okay. After MBBS, what are you going to do? You have to do something specialization, MD surgeon, if you want to do surgeries, right? So what surgeon are you? Cardiac, ortho, ophthalmist, like this, right? So similarly, we do have in cyber security as a SOC analyst, vulnerability management, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, red team activities, CTI, AV or HIPS or endpoint security, or else you can go through the device management roles. The firewalls, IDS and IPS devices we call as a network security. These are the network security devices, network for perimeter security devices, and even these two
will be the same. And this is the email security. And the DLP, so data loss prevention. As I said, entire security takes a decision, or entire the goal of security will start to protect this one, right? So these are the different areas where we have careers, and we have to understand. See, I am interested in any of these zones. Okay, I am interested in any of these zones, but I am nowhere. For example, I am nowhere fit for a few roles here, right? So we should know that where we are able to fit. Having interest is something different, where we have the ability to do. First of all, that is the thing. When you are selecting a career, what you have to do is evaluate yourself. What is your ability? Okay. I remember I am taking an interview. Okay. So in that interview, I got a profile, and I've been scheduled for 1 hour discussion. So I just asked the candidate, are you suitable for this role? He said, okay. Then I explained him what role I am going to take him. In general, very layman English, or normal English. For example, I given the example like, I need a person who can design the car, a new model. I wanted a person who can look at the current design, current model physically, and then reinvent it and bring a latest version, model version. I want the person who can design it. So let me know, are you a driver, which means the car user, or else are you a mechanic, the automobile, the one serviceman who are doing, or are you one of the service engineers who sits in the automobile industry and assembles the parts, or else are you a person who design? Tell me, I said. Sir, I am a driver, he said. So tell me, are you fit for this role? Now tell me, are you fit for the current role, what I am going to look at? He said, no, sir. Then interviews are done. It's nowhere waste of your time and my time. I don't want to discuss all your experience as a driver. I want a designer. If you are a driver, there is no point in discussing about your route maps, how you travel, how you use brakes. No point, right? So waste of time. So keep understanding the job description or roles and responsibilities before you sit for an interview. That will help you more clear and help you to prepare very precisely for the role you are going and present it very well. And the other side is, it will bring your confidence or build your confidence, and it will not kill your confidence. If I have taken a good 1 hour time of discussion and say, sorry, you are unfit, he thinks that he is unfit for that role itself, as a driver also. Right? I don't want to degrade his ability. I don't want to degrade his ability as a driver. He might be expert as a driver, but he is not suitable for this role. So that is how I have evaluated that with 2 minutes of discussion. Okay. So guys, when you select your career, think of your ability, understand the roles and responsibilities, and kindly do not rely on somebody's suggestions. Don't straightly go away with everybody's consultation and all. First, to do your research. Okay, first to do your research. If you are looking at a career in cybersecurity,
try to understand different roles. Take a pen and paper, write different roles and responsibilities. Okay, then understand each role. Is this something I can do or not? Okay, then evaluate yourself. Then I am going to do X role. For example, if you are very well versed with the application architecture and you are very interested, then you have to know the complete web application architecture, how the information flows from front end to the server, and when the request is posted, how the response is coming, the entire structure. And you also need to understand where can this interception can be possible, and from where can I forge these requests, and then hack it successfully. What are the parameters, right? If you don't know that, or if you are not ready to do the such stuff, you are unfit for these roles. So whatever maybe, I'm not just talking about cybersecurity. I'm talking about the career selection. Whatever maybe you are going in, keep your abilities to the point and precise, so that it will help you. You can excel in your, if you are, see, when I talk about this abilities point of view, I read a story in a newspaper during my schooling. There is a competition between a monkey, elephant, and a crocodile. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is a competition between a monkey, an elephant, and crocodile. Which will win? First of all, what is the game? What is the game first? To climb over the trees. Who will win? Ultimately, monkey. Do you think crocodile is worse than monkey, and this elephant is useless? No, right? They have their own individual abilities. If I ask to pull down a huge tree, can monkey does it? It's the only ability of an elephant. Likewise, the ability differs from person to person. The only one who can identify your ability is the only you. Okay, nobody can find you, or nobody can identify the inner you. So identify your abilities, research, and then select your careers. Guys, you may be already into your careers, or few may be just coming out, stepping out of your colleges or academic studies. But this should be your right step. Once you put into a wrong place, right? Your time, your career, your abilities gets demotivated if you are in the wrong slot. Okay. Moreover, I am done with this. So there are different levels, and based on the seniority levels, I don't want to talk all this information, and you can just explore in Google. Try to be independent, I said. In the learning point of view, try to be independent. Don't be dependent on your learning. So you should be able to, or you should take support to understand it exactly, and then you have to read it by yourself, or work individually. So that will help you build yourself in your career. So all the instructors or faculties may have different approaches. Okay, so don't compare your academic studies with the professional studies. Professional studies are far different compared to your academic studies. Any questions? Any doubts? All right then. So if no doubts or no questions, chalo then. Okay, thanks guys. See you all.